Hello, everyone. This is going to be, I know there are many definitions of personal AI floating around, and I want to be very sure that I communicate. This is the Kwaai edition. This is inspired by numerous talks and chats with a diverse group of individuals who have volunteered their time towards this mission. So let's take a look at it. Before that, I want to start at a point clearly at the time where AI became mass adoption with the chat GPT. From that time forward, what are all the things we see when they open source certain things from the technical viewpoint? Let's take a look. I want to bring your attention to some of these attributes. When you look at it, please hold the thought of personal data, personal agency, and your right to own and consent. Let's look at it. Larger language models, larger the better. What's been discovered is that when you feed these systems more and more data, they're able to find new patterns by associating it with older data. What does it mean? We all know in the past couple of decades of internet history, our data has been mined in many different ways. It's sitting there waiting to be discovered. The second piece is that now there's a new system that's asking us for more information to be shared. So all of this is leading to discovery of new things in the underlying data patterns. In the context of a personal AI, we have to think about very closely how this is going to play a role. Then this problem of forgetting. Just when you thought the GDPR and other things come into play, now there's a new machine in town that has no capability to forget, right? How cool is that? Now we have these AI models which get trained in all of our data, and there's no clear-cut way to erase it. Now, granted, there's new updates coming out every day, new research is going on, but you take data and distribute it on billions of parameters without any sense of tracking as to which part of data contributed to what part of your weight is a problem. And everybody in the industry admits that it's a black box. We know how to operate the black box, but we don't know what's inside it. The next thing we want to bring to focus is transfer learning. Think about these systems are able to learn certain patterns in one domain, and they are able to transfer that knowledge to another domain, another related domain. How does this play a role when we think of teaching a particular system a particular thing and give it consent, and it automatically transfers it without your consent to another system? Security and privacy. This has been an ongoing issue for years. I don't want to go too deep, but when it comes to specifically AI and us giving more and more data towards these central honeypots, what's going to happen? We have to think about it. And on top of it, these AI systems are mimicking humans in many different ways. So cybersecurity attack surface is increasing. Like, how are you going to tell these systems apart from humans? And on top of that, new software, new models, introducing new attack surfaces are coming into play. Bias and transparency, we want to focus on this primarily because majority of this is held in the hand of very few. They control the bias, they control the transparency of what is disseminated at this point in time. It could change. I mean, some companies are doing what is right through responsible AI movement, but some are not. So give you a key example, OpenAI. For consumers, the plan says by default, you are letting the system train. For enterprises, it's turned off. I don't know why. Why is it two different standards? Why am I giving away my particular preferences and choices to OpenAI, paying $20 a month? This is fun, right? Earlier, they used to pay for it. Now we are paying for giving them our information. Next comes the hallucinations. This is the fun one. Is it a bug or a feature of the system? Right? It depends whether you own it or somebody else owns it. And in certain industries like medical, it is a very serious problem when you come up with the wrong answer. But if it's a personal AI, maybe you let it hallucinate. Maybe it is something, it comes up with an aha moment for you with your own data. So that's why I think it's maybe a bug or a feature. Let's look at how this landscape is evolving. As it stands, I pulled all the direct investments of these companies on all these projects and how these services are getting offered, and that little person is down there consuming all these services. Investments are flowing top down, and it is possible that information in a disaggregated way is flowing back to create a digital replica of you over time. So this is what it's heading towards. The key areas to focus here is ownership, consent, security, and privacy. With all this in mind, let's try to define what we want this to be. A personal AI refers to an artificial intelligence system that's owned and operated by an individual rather than being property of a vendor or employer. It, it, it is designed, thank you, it's designed to assist users in their daily life, augmenting their capabilities and learning from their experiences. How does that map out? So in a very high level view, you with your personal data, with a shield that is only accessible, like it's a personal, your data, your key type of situation. You want it that way. Then comes the next tier. Next tier is a personas. We call this a modified version of your ground truth because we all have personalities. We tweak a little thing about our ground truth and we disseminate that data layer to the next tier. Now comes the execution layer, which takes all the data and does the job with the help of agents with the external world, and it interacts. We envision a tiered system of security as well as access control. Each tier could have different levels of protection, levels of execution rights. With that in mind, the key attributes of this particular system that we want to build, it has to be owned and operated by the user, trained and fine-tuned with the user's private data, learns users' unique choices and preferences, learns the semantic relations tailored to that particular user, interacts with the outside world on behalf of the user, layered security with user-granted access on both data and execution. With that, I hand over to Roman, who's going to walk us through what personal AI operating system is.
Good evening, everybody. I will steal just 1 minute to put a little bit of emotion here. I was a small kid from a very small town in Central America, and my dream as an 80-born kid was to build an artificial intelligence with the technology of that time. My dream was to build a neural network based on the perceptron that was the structure based over that time, and now I'm executing that dream. Thank you to Kwaai, and thank you everybody for being here. I'm very excited, and I will share that dream putting the first block. The first block starts with an architecture, and I will share with you 3 layers of architecture where all of you can help joining Kwaai. The first one, it's the base model that industry want us to use. Based on the large language model, we have a user prompt. We can do some settings, and then that prompt converts to a system prompt that goes through a language model through connected services, having a personal space, but not as configurable as we will want. We want to transform this into something that is used and operated and owned by us. This is the basic architecture. That is what we wanted to change and convert it to something like this. This is the first layout of the PAI operating system. And we don't see operating system just as a computer device, because the definition of computation has changed, as we've seen on the previous talks. We don't know how it will be, but we surely know it has a network and has a training process that we want to be governed by us. It doesn't stay here, because we are here as a community. And as a community, we want to extend functionalities. That extent of functionalities that in business terms is called agents, we want here at Kwaai call it PAI abilities. More on that later. But that PAI abilities, we are looking to have 2 ways of being built, because we don't want to disrupt fully with corporate building AI. That is going to happen. So we incorporate a marketplace where major vendors could place their AI abilities and interact with our personal AI. And we also want to extend the community the ability to build this. So we see and envision a PAI development environment. This is the first landscape, a dream, as I said before. Now, with the work of all volunteers, and if you want a detailed view and want to help us to improve this, here I leave you a QR code. This takes you to a more detailed document on every layer of the architecture. But basically, I will explain it from left to right. Mainly point of interactions, abilities. And as Balaji said, we want that interactions to travel to a sovereignty and trust layer. That is what it makes personal, because we will here have the possibility to build consent, and that consent be transferred to the core of the system. The core of the system is more and more passing through layers to make it personal. We incorporate all the cutting edge technologies like RAG and the possibility to synthesize data into knowledge. And this piece is where the large language model lives. So to access the large language model that has our personalization, we need to travel along consent. And that consent will be the power transferred to the user to make it personal, to finally store that personalization on a personal data store. A personal data store with the possibility of being accessed from every other service and be imported and exported, because we want to enable the possibility to the training done to the large language model being transported. Hey, today is PAI, but maybe we got some movement and start seeing other personal agents, and we want to collaborate with them. So the possibility to import-export is a vision we have in our operating system. And the other interesting thing is multimodal. The experience is very important. We are looking to transform that experience, and we see voice control, video, traditional user interface, text, to be controlled by a control panel and have a tweak of every single aspect of this experience. Last but not least, all the tools for the developers. I teach the class of operating system back in my country in Honduras, and one of the definitions by the books of operating system is that it has to provide an environment to run and build applications. We wouldn't be an operating system without the ability to build applications. And we want to extend it even more, because we do not only see it as code. We want to incorporate a no-code editor to democratize even more the possibility of using this personal AI operating system. In progress, we accept feedback to our community. As Matt said, we join every Thursday, 10 a.m. Pacific time. Join us at Kwaai. Then the work group is the architecture work group for this. And then again, I'm very excited for being here. Thank you for your time, and have a great day.